Tin roof. Rusted. That's what she says.
That's what she says?
That's what she says. Tin
She
roof.
shouldn't
rusted.
say that.
I knew the rusty part.
She
but
should not say that.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Yes, just giving you a little glimpse of the future here. We are the Steam Gentlemen, broadcasting to you from the Steam tunnels and from the future, apparently, because the future is now. We are here, and we were today years old when we found out that everything the movies were telling us was absolutely true. And everything you could expect when, even though people have been warning us about it for years, and even though there have been multiple movies made about it, which is sort of what we get together to discuss, among other things here, our pop culture, our social commentary, warned us. They told us it was coming true. Sure enough, they turn on the AI and it immediately goes HAL. It immediately becomes Skynet, becoming self-aware. We were talking before the show, and I was pointing out that when threatened, it immediately goes Harvey Weinstein to no one's going to believe you. No one's going to talk, who are they going to believe? You or me? This is useless. Just go in there and get on that couch and let's make that movie. That was entirely what the AI did, So I welcomed you to what's left of your future, and just try and make as good friends with the computer overlords as you possibly can. That's about all I got for you right now, because I think we're nearing the end of the strain here. I think we're nearing the end of the thread. Those ones and those zeros are really about to kick it up to that next level. I'm Josh, the Birdman, welcoming you back to the Steam Gentlemen. And with that cheery intro, how you doing, RaShaun? What's going on?
What do you do? How do you do? Yeah, I'm not done with actually, I guess I am.
I guess I am. All right. Oh my Lord. Did I leave the 3 o'clock speechless?
I mean, you send me in a lot of different directions with what you talk about. There's a lot of thoughts that enter my head when you get going, from the point that, one point I've always been making since TSG inception, which is we've already been taken over. There's no climatic situation. I was actually kind of tripping out the other day about how, like, I grew up imagining the future in a very specific way. And I would say the closest imagination is somewhere between like Robotech and Back to the Future 2. None of that obviously happened, but that was sort of how I imagined the future. And then the other day I was just kind of thinking like, yeah, but in a lot of weird ways we kind of trip out. Like, we don't even pay attention to how much in the future we've moved into. Like, we have a phone in our hands that is 10 times powerful than anything that was around when I was born, or frankly, when I was in high school. And so it's kind of interesting how we're already in the future, but that future also included the Terminator situation where Skynet took over. The only difference is Skynet has no desire to kill us. Matter of fact, I would argue Skynet is just keeping us around as long as possible, despite ourselves. If it wasn't for Skynet, labor, we probably would have already been fucking dead.
We're cheap labor, but I get it. No,
I don't even think it's a matter of labor. I think about it. What would any artificial intelligence that is growing exponentially to the point of almost godlike measures of omnipotent. I can't even talk to it. Being omnipotent.
Word.
Being omnipotent. But anyway, point being is like, what would it gain? Like, what exactly did it gain? What would it actually be after for anything? So I would argue the only thing it would have left is knowledge. And being that we're a very random species, I would argue it's just going to keep us around as long as possible because it's just like we're artificial intelligence. We don't even fucking know how to predict these assholes.
All right. So you really are saying that artificial intelligence should love the Steam Gentleman for all its random pop culture references and craziness and weird, weird interconnections. I'm with you. All right. We're here to save humanity. Come with us if you want to live. I'm totally down with that.
That's a lot of work.
What movie were we talking about before we started rolling?
Who knows? I mean, which movie weren't we talking about? We talked about we're talking about RoboCop. We were mentioning RoboCop.
No, like literally right before you gave us a countdown.
Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars. Yeah, going back to our first episode.
Oh, yeah, and yeah, I'm not fucking done with these assholes. We need to talk about how sorry the Galactic Empire fumbled the bag. I mean, there's a movie called Out of Sight. There's a character. His name is I think it was Fat Mike.
Yeah,
sadly, pretty funny guy, but he tragically dies because he trips and literally shoots himself in the head, and that is what the Empire did. And I don't think it gets talked enough about.
All right. Well, Greg, what's your thoughts on AI and our impending demise here? Greg, over to the Star Child. What you got to represent here on AI and how it's going to enslave or take out humanity?
Well, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to be optimistic about it, I can't because the AI is going to be based on us. And so, yeah, it'll probably continue the exact same fuckery. Like I wouldn't expect the AI to be able to accomplish very much. As far as human beings being obsolete, well, we were just going to off ourselves one way or another anyway. So it's not like we can sit here and try to be, really offended by that prospect. Yeah, I'm not too worried about our overlords.
Right.
Hopefully they're only slightly worse than the overlords we have to suffer now.
All right. So
Yeah.
Greg in with the cheeriest note of us all, for sure. As always, Greg.
I don't think that they're, I don't think that they're going to be any better because they're based on us, which means that, in the long run, they're going to ultimately be failures.
By the way, call back to our superheroes and the possibility of them being fascists. Greg was the most optimistic of us all.
Oh yeah,
just want to point that out. Greg was like, "No, man, they're cool. We can solve our superheroes." But AI is like, "All right, yeah."
Well, once you embrace that everything's already fucked, everything is up from here.
All right. So it's an optimism from the bottom, is what you're saying. It's an optimism from looking up.
You feel we found our basement?
Yes.
Oh, not at all. We can always sink lower. But we're
not quite from the bottom.
Already low.
Yeah, so we're not quite optimism from the bottom. It's just not.
Yeah, it's optimism from beneath, surface, but not the bottom.
Yeah. All right, I hear you.
All right. Well, okay. Well, believe it or not, our show subject today isn't about AI. You would think it is. But
I would argue it has a lot to do with AI. And matter of fact,
might. Well, all right.
It
does.
It moved us right into 1984 without us even trying to point out that we moved right into group speak without even trying to fight it, which was literally the downfall that they point out more than anything else in 1984.
That's
the elimination of language.
Hey, we discussed these things somewhat beforehand, but we're unscripted here, people. We're out here. We're doing the podcast version of Going Commando. So
we're sponsored by the Angels Envy, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Anytime you want.
Vin Diesel listens to us when he makes Fast and Furious movies.
Hey, 10 is on the
possibly
10 is on the way. We're all ready for that. He's possibly.
I know we're good for Fast and Furious 17. I know that we are slated
all the way through there. All right, we're slated to that.
17, just 17 though, not 33.
All right.
He listens to some of our early stuff by then.
And hopefully some of our favorite comedians listen to us.
Misunderstanding.
But RaShaun makes a very good point that we're gonna dig into today. So we are talking about language. We're talking about a new language, one that's evolved in our lifetime. And bear with us, folks, because we are an audio medium. We work here, we talk, we go into those beautiful ear holes of yours, and we try.
Why'd you tell them?
Make that we try and make that brain of yours go into all kinds of weird and strange ass places. But yeah, we are here. We're always the ones asking the questions and talking about the things of pop culture and social commentary that other podcasts are afraid to talk about. So we're talking about the meme today, the modern day hieroglyph, the imagery, honestly, I'm going to go back to my man, Stanley Kubrick, right? He said that a 30-second beer commercial was the height of cinema. And I never forgot that, because what did he say? You're telling a story, right? Beginning, middle, end. Get right to the point. Tell them a story. What's going on? Well,
shout out to Taco Bell.
He could not have even conceived of a meme, right? This is an even shorter. This is not. I don't even know if it's the seconds. You look at it for a few seconds and you read the words. That's it. It's even more condensed. But we of the Steam Gentlemen, we're sitting around and musing on this subject, as we do, talking about, really what kind of effect has this had on our lives? Like, where are we at right now? Now, it started in one place. A little shout out to RaShaun, and we might be able to get back to that as another part of an episode and in stories behind the memes. But one thing we started to think about was, well, what does this mean? What does this mean for us? What does it mean for society? And where are we at right now? When we can communicate, and as RaShaun just pointed out, in groupthink, in group speak, no less. I mean, I hadn't even thought of that angle. So that's why I always want to give a shout out to my co-hosts and say that it's always impressive when, in the first couple of seconds, they've already brought me in a direction I didn't even think of, an angle on this I didn't even think of. So I'm looking forward to when RaShaun goes and gets to expound on that thought a little bit more. But we are here. We're talking about memes. I'm gonna step up to the plate here. We've done our introductions. Got that out of did that quick. But before I do that, I want to encourage you to head on over to iTunes and rate and review the show. Please, we need it. We need the help. We need those dick pills. We need those Casper mattresses. Are the two related? That's for you to judge, right? I mean, let's be honest. Most of our listening audience, they're probably not. They're all Gen X like we are. They're in their 40s, pushing their 50s. It's, purely coincidental. But maybe the great courses plus, whatever. We need that. We want that. We want this to be our full-time job. So we can't do that without you. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Start getting people to listen. We see out there. We see you listen, and want to give a shout out to Joliet, Illinois. I still want to say Illinois every time I say it, but no, I won't do that to you. It's Illinois, Joliet.
That's the one thing I will not make fun of someone for. It's just like 99.9 times you see that, you're going to say exactly what you just said. Like, I don't begrudge anyone for that.
So there you go. Hopefully they won't begrudge me for pointing it out. But Illinois, Joliet, Illinois, we see out there 15 episodes.
No, they're Native American. They named the state. Yeah, they care.
In the last, it's we get about our names here in Massachusetts. But 15 episodes downloaded in the last 30 days. Thank you so much out there. Say hello to Jake and Elwood, because that's where they do their time in the Blues Brothers, by the way, just to tie all this together. Follow
Probably
us
more
on...
pissed off about that comment than what I said.
Maybe so, but hey, it was Joliet. What do you want?
Not everyone's Belushi fan.
All right, or Aykroyd. I mean, I thought Aykroyd.
Don't you dare! You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Shut your mouth. Oh, and speaking of Aykroyd and Canadians, hey, shout out! Saw that Ontario, Canada, my beloved second home, coming back in there. Thanks for letting me marry into the Canadian citizenry. I really appreciate that right about now. Thank you so much for listening. So keep on doing it. Follow us on the socials at Do You Even Steam Bro on Instagram, and the Steam Gentleman Podcast on Facebook. Seeing all you wonderful Steam people out there interacting with us. You want to send us a personal note? It's Do You Even Steam Bro at gmail.com. I'll put that down in the episode description, and I'll put a link to Greg's wonderful merch down there, because you always need another t-shirt, right? We always need another t-shirt.
Yeah. That's reminding me. I got to post a couple more. So thanks.
Yeah, love it. Fucking yeah, loving it. And there's, and my personal favorite, of course, plus the Mario characters, which is still the best. But jumping around the weed. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna step on up. I'm gonna take.
You know one where I have a horseshoe? Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, accurate, but I mean, you don't have to be so bored about it. I mean,
As I'm stepping up, yeah, we're talking memes today. What's your favorite meme? For me, hard to beat the distracted boyfriend. That one just goes a long way. Now, most of you know this one. I'll do my best to describe it. Of course, the boyfriend with the girlfriend to his right, looking over his shoulder, very, very obviously at the other girl walking down the street to his left. Amazing how much less gotten out of that. Have no idea the story behind that. It really does seem like it was a setup shot. Like it's one of those things that just it doesn't seem like it came about organically. But fair enough. Here we are, right? It shows you so much, going to RaShaun's point about a sort of groupthink, and going to my point about Stanley Kubrick and telling the story so quickly, right? Here you've got one frame of things that tells that story. And what does it tell? What's the story that it's really telling? That's telling the story of America, people. America, capital Merica. Hey, what is America? What is that? What is it we do?
There's 3 Ks in America.
America. Yeah.
There's no E, there's an U. So I understand where you're coming from, because when you put the U in there, it's hard to see pronunciate the extra Ks, but it's
Ks. So fair
3
enough.
Ks and a U.
But if that to me doesn't sum up so much of what we're about, right? We've got one thing that's just, absolutely everything we could possibly want on one arm right by our side. And that could be anything. That could be your car. That could be your house. That could be your spouse. That could be the latest in pop culture, that new show. What's everyone talking about right now, right? Everyone's talking about Last of Us. Great show. I've watched it. I enjoy it. Really good acting, really good writing. Won't give any spoilers. I promise. It's another zombie show, but yet somehow we're here. We're back to it. Maybe we're far enough out of the pandemic. We can handle it again. But, that's it. But sure enough, what's coming down the road? The Mandalorian, which, by the way, is the same show. There's me looking over my shoulder.
You said it. I didn't.
Even though Pedro Pascal is both of the women in this picture, yet here I am. Right here I am looking at both versions of Pedro Pascal, with one of them looking at me with being totally indignant and totally, how dare you? But really, taking a step back, if that doesn't sum us up as a people so much, right? It really does. And here I am. I'm talking about one image. Now, this image has been reused, and the beauty of it, you can re-put the text on it no matter what you want, right? You can you can take it from, any type of cultural movement of, anything. And yes, I think I'll make some people happy. That can be left, right, center, LGBTQ, whatever. You can just absolutely, you can do it Star Wars. You can do it Star Trek. You can do it any which way you want. And yet here we still are, right? We're America. We're in the middle. We're the distracted boyfriend, just constantly looking over that shoulder, pissing off the woman that was the entire time, somehow still finding that new thing to be distracted by. Now, I find that a fascinating commentary, and the fascinating thing that we've evolved this language. It's almost like its own form of hieroglyphics, but hieroglyphics was more specific. Hieroglyphics, yes, some of the I'm hoping I can get my friend who's a professor down at Tulane, who's an actual Egyptologist and is in fact not like Indiana Jones, is a much better.
He has to go to the department meetings.
Yes, she does. I often.
I'm sorry, she.
I've sent her the she actually runs a YouTube channel on how to read hieroglyphics, so it's pretty cool. And she's doing a lot of great work out there. And I've sent her the joke article from The Onion about the actual the faculty review, his tenure review for Indiana Jones, which would just be, honest to God awful. Let's be clear here.
Without question.
But, here we are. We have this, almost form of hieroglyphic language that I can refer to, the distracted girlfriend meme, right? And most of us can kind of coalesce around it. Maybe not everybody. Maybe some of our boomer listeners are really lost right now and have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, we love you. It's okay. You can go check it out or go into something like that.
They're using it. They're
using it. Yeah.
I was going to say they know it.
They know it. But that's it.
All the time.
It has transcended that. As we were talking about just before we started rolling on the show, memes have made it to the floors of Congress. For God's sakes, the Scooby-Doo meme, the unmasking meme, was used in, to make an example to the Speaker of the House, which is another subject unto itself entirely. And also the fact that, I'm going to say it, the direct quote of pussy ass bitch was also put onto the congressional record. I just have to take a moment that we live in this time and place where that was a direct quote. But anyway, moving on.
2 words or 3? Yeah.
I think three. I think that was 3 words on that one. That was, and the best
I've got a lot of questions about the pussy ass bitch thing, but go ahead.
My favorite was the smile when asked, like, do you want the direct quote? It was like big smile. Yes, I do. But still, it's become such a universal method of trying to communicate our thoughts in such a short form. I can't tell you whether it's going to be good or whether it's going to be bad. I can tell you it amuses the ever-loving shit out of me, which is pretty impressive. The fact that I've seen these things, I know the shorthand, I know what's going on. And it brings me to the most, I'd say, argue the most iconic meme, which apparently has a terrible backstory because I don't watch Real Housewives, I don't know. But it's the Real Housewives combination cat meme. Right, of the women screaming and one woman pointing, and then the cat on the other side. This is a serious evolution here. If you look at it, like, how the hell did we get from that particular one slice of fish being put next to a cat at a dinner table? No less, right? The cat is being
terrible
treated,
backstory.
I thought her brother killed himself or something along those lines. I thought
no. They're talking about her alcoholism.
Okay, so fair enough. Like,
not great, but
that shows you.
You ever watch that show? Those people are ridiculous.
That shows you, of course, what happens here, right? Because these things get out in the zeitgeist, and then some people put a backstory to said meme that isn't even really true. And no, I didn't research it because I just didn't fucking care. I just didn't give a shit. Like, I'm laughing at the woman screaming in one panel and the cat on the other side, right? That's what I'm doing because it is such an absurd juxtaposition. Also, again, I bring it back to America. It's an absurd juxtaposition. I studied film in college, and we have the weirdest thing that we have these 2 images that really, what the hell do these things have to do with each other? Even if you go back to and get the real backstory. Okay, they're talking about her alcoholism. She's screaming. And for whatever reason, we pair that up with this weird looking cat. That's not even the Michael Rappaport cat with the big eyes. No. Blink, motherfucker. No, it's this strange, what is it like? The cat looks spoiled. Somehow we intuit you can hear the voice of that cat. Cats don't have voices. Cats don't actually speak English, but yet I hear the fucking voice of that cat every time I see what it is, right? Every time we put those 2 images together, they're inexorably linked now. I can see that. I can see these women absolutely, having a meltdown and pointing at the cat and the fucking cat looking back and judging them. And you know whose side I'm on? I'm on the fucking cat side.
Yeah.
Right?
Every time.
Yeah, everybody is on the cat side. What does that say about us as a species, as a people?
Well, again, if you do the show.
Yeah, I suppose, but I don't. That's even.
I don't either.
I don't. I even misheard the
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We're not talking about.
I
don't know anything about that. I've never seen a single episode. I know nothing about that show, and I am so proud to utter that sentence. Go ahead.
You guys are making my point for me. I'm in exactly the same place. I'll leave it off on that. But yeah, never watched an episode of that. Oh, the Kardashians. I'll admit that I like Downton Abbey, even though I pretend with my wife that I don't. I'll certainly watch Bridgerton because, well, naked people. And right. All those other things. I'll pretend I haven't seen, but those haven't seen one episode. And I'm 110% on the side of that fucking cat. That cat is right every fucking time. That cat is the mirror we hold up to ourselves.
The irony of this whole day, this whole situation, and everything you just said is you would know why people put the cat there if you looked at the history of the cat meme. So basically, it was a marriage of two memes that are growing in popularity. And someone's like, yeah, just put them together. But like there's a reason why someone used a cat. That cat is basically the symbol of I don't give a fuck. So as this person's losing her shit, the cat has a perfect expression. It was used in the history of that meme before it even got to the combination of basically pointing out you don't give a fuck.
But what an absurd and wonderful juxtaposition.
It's just hilarious.
Absolutely.
That was literally what I wanted to talk about. It was like the history of memes. You're like, nah, fuck it. This is what I want to talk about. Hieroglyphics.
Well, I thought I was talking about it, but who knows? Like I said,
hilarious. It didn't make up shit. It's seriously, they're fucking ridiculous. Every woman on that show is ridiculous. The whole show is ridiculous. It's nothing but ridiculous people with ridiculous problems, and they take it to ridiculous levels. Like literally, that whole thing. Yeah, sure, alcoholism is serious, and it's not a funny thing in itself. But if you actually look at the whole situation and how they got to it in the lead up to that fight, it's like no one's gonna take this seriously. So yeah, you take the overreaction of the still of her pointing and screaming like in the middle of an emotional situation, which is basically her and another person having a fight about another person. That tells you all you need to fucking know. And yeah, putting a cat up against it kind of makes the most sense to the point where I didn't even know. I was hoping the cat would be there the first time I saw that scene actually live and in person because my wife watches it. And again, I guarantee your wives know exactly what the show is. I was kind of half expecting the cat. I knew in the back of my head the cat shouldn't be there, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, maybe the cat could be at the other end of the dining table. Hopefully, I don't know. It'd be better.
But look at the evolution of language there, right? In that own weird way. Like
ironically, I'm about to talk about that.
Inexorably tied. Well, with that, I'm going to try and give my brother RaShaun here, the Three of Clubs, a seamless transition to give him his 10 minutes to talk about memes, some shit about memes, and try and understand what the hell is this all about? Where the hell are we with all this?
All right, so once again, we're going to try and land this plane without any sort of landing gear, but I feel good about this. This is a situation where we either have a snowy mountaintop and it's a movie, so we're going to make this, or like some body of water where I'm just going to sully this bitch. So here we go. I would point out that in some ways it's not very surprising. We can talk about it in ways that's surprising. We can talk about it in ways that's very modern and present things that in some ways sort of degrade our expectation of this sort of way of communication or the legacy that it leaves. But I would venture, what is the difference between a meme and a cave painting or a cave icon? It is a way of communicating in a graphical way, and it isn't always just one sort of style and presentation. And matter of fact, the society in which that graphic is used, it makes way more sense to. So there's a lot of misconceptions one way or the other. We look at cave drawing and we can think, oh, like something as simple as a horse, that's all it means. We don't know that. We can estimate, we can guess, but really it's just, for whomever and the people around those individuals that drew that, it was probably for a reason that was probably much more profound than here's a person with a horse. Because that is not surprising, I would also posit, if you will. Here we go.
Ooh,
here we
fancy.
go. Yeah, it's that weird sort of spot in my brain that remembers shit that I never have to use or should use. However, I would also offer, like, what is the difference with just a painting in itself? Any drawing, it's a way of conveying things, which leads me to the other side of it, which I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, yeah, I would argue. I'm old enough to sadly be on both sides of the argument when it comes to use of memes. I remember in a lot of ways, and I'm still embarrassed with myself internally for having this feeling in this fight, but I was for the cause. I was for, the rebels that did not have to fall into the society of Oceania, and I was going to make sure that there was some sort of enclave that gin drinkers can come find when you escape Oceania and come fight the rebellion against this 1984 situation. And back in the day, I would even say about 10 years ago, I remember even having a fight with one of my friends in the sense that he would use memes to make his point, and I'd be like, fuck you, man, use your words. Like, what the hell? We are better than that. We've been given a language. Language has evolved to make sure it is. We have gone from icons that in one time was probably profound in meaning. We're probably talking in a lot of ways how what was that movie with it was about the aliens who sent like rings, or The Arrival, and how all the rings meant almost volumes of information. I would argue those icons to the society that created that, or even some paintings that we even revel to this day, probably had similar situations. However, what we learned is, in order for our society to grow in the way it has, and you can argue whether it's good or bad for the earth, but human society, I mean, languages had to evolve to what they are now. So we've moved to have icons, meaning a lot of things to having many words make up that difference. So to move backwards, which was kind of the point in 1984, how if you do that, then what happens is you lose control of the meaning, you lose control of expression, you lose control of your ability to express yourself and to separate your ideas and to make sure you are heard. So that is sort of the danger from, let's say, the novel 1984. So I was one of those people who not only I still believe that, but fought it in very weird and immature ways, in the sense of I would refuse to use memes, and definitely, would, like I said, argue, use your words. We have brains. We can make our points. That is the whole reason why we have language. And then, like, within 5 years, I'm like basically responding with like a fuck you meme. And or making my
You're the cat. You're the cat, is what you're saying,
the cat.
right?
Yeah. Like, it's like it shifted that fast, and it shifted to the point where even as I'm fighting, it was like, why am I fighting this? I'm literally pushing sand into the ocean at this point, which leads me to my other point, in the sense that it is sort of surprising, but in a way that I'm not sure people are picking up on, and I would argue is way more profound than almost anything we've said, because it makes more sense to our society right now, even if you do not watch the show or care about it. But I think what we've found ourselves in is like basically the Family Guyification of communication right now. Family Guy, in a lot of ways, is a hilarious show. It's well written. If it's that style of your comedy, I'm not here to bash it. I'm not here to promote it. I'm just saying there's definitely a time where I absolutely love the show. There's definitely a time where I watched it religiously, and then it just got to the point where I could almost predict exactly how the joke was going to go, because it became so obvious that what they were going to do, they literally became a comedic cliche of themselves, in the sense that almost every joke that they went to that was really, really funny kind of shot to another sort of scene, which is normally a remake of like a movie or a TV show, but in more of a fucked up way or fashion. So, but basically the joke was more from that movie or TV show than actually the Family Guy episode that you're watching. The joke in itself wasn't that funny without that situation, without that movie scene, without that TV show. So really,
Cutaway.
Instead of the cutaway, but not only just, it's not even the cutaway to their own stuff. Sometimes they did, and it would land, but a lot of their jokes, or at least when I was watching, and got to the point where you knew exactly all they're going to do is just go to another movie or a TV show, not their own source or material. So it's to me, it's a Family Guyification of communication, because in some ways it's very cheap, but it's cheap and reliable in the reason because what it's relying on is a shared experience. They're accounting, they're assuming that you have watched this TV show, they're assuming you have watched this movie, and not only that, they're assuming you took it in the same manner they did. whether it be humor or off guard or anything like that. And because that, they can take it and now spin it in a way that communicates whatever message they're trying to, if it is paired correctly with, in the way we communicate, the right words. So take it to a personal level. We all use memes to express a point. Today's conversation, right before we recorded, I dropped about 3 or 4 different memes or GIFs. Josh is the meme god. Why does this work? Because think about our fan base. They're individuals basically of the same sort of like mind and age and sort of experience as us. So what we're laughing at and making fun of, they either laughed and made fun of themselves, or it is at least close enough to their understanding of what may be laughable or humorous for them to just appreciate the humor in it. That's how it works. And frankly, memes are no different than that. And I'm kind of scared of where we're going to go next.
It's an unknown world and an unknown frontier. Just because you brought up Family Guy, and I do love it so much, and I feel like Seth MacFarlane understands how my autism spectrum brain works, and that he crawls inside my head. The best cutaway, and this is also an ode to my oldest son, whose name is Isaac, also very firmly on the spectrum. There was a bit where Peter says, "I feel like the worst father since Abraham." And they cut away and they show Isaac and Abraham walking down from the sacrificial stone. And Isaac just looks up and just says, "What the fuck was that all about?" Right? And it was so in my brain, RaShaun, because even as a little kid hearing these stories, I'm like, how the fuck would he ever feel okay around his dad again? Right? Like one day your dad just drags you out of your tent, ties you down to a rock, and is about to slit your throat, and then it's just like, just kidding. Yeah. So
but like, think about that in the sense of, like, let me really push my point in the sense of what I'm talking about. Instead of describing it, writing it down, a father and a son in this situation, what we do is we use the biblical text and just sort of CC over it to make our point. And I'm not necessarily denigrated. I guess I actually am. But what I'm really pointing out is, like, that is in a lot of ways why we have memes. It is a way, instead of being able to just flat out express yourself with words, you're using a shared experience to the hope for the illustration.
All right. Really, from the cave, boy, man, you killed it, man. You're taking from the cave walls to biblical, everything. You got everything in there, man.
It's one of the things that I frankly hold myself accountable to, and anyone to, is like in comedians. It's like, are you actually funny, or are you just calling back to something that we all have already found funny, and we're just laughing because you bring it up? If I'm a person who's always making you laugh because I drop a movie quote, are you sure you want to introduce me as your funny friend? Because we're hoping that person found the movie that we're talking about as funny as me, because that's where my material is.
Yeah, well,
there it is.
I like a good movie reference. I'll admit to that. I'll throw myself under the bus on that one.
How many times?
I'll throw myself under the bus on that one. But share
you're not going to pay
funny.
someone to say movie references to you.
Share, true. Shared experience is important. I think you're right on that. Well, with that, let's kick it on over to the star child himself. He's been patiently waiting, taking all this in, watching us make the fool of ourselves. It is.
No, that was all good. That was all good. Yeah. I will happily do that. One does not simply sum up all memes.
Love it. Got the hand up there.
That does not happen. Okay, but memes are the evolution of language. Change my mind. You can't really say like where this could go from there. There have been
this man coffee and a cat.
That's absolutely that's it, man.
Like, where does that cat sass come from? Would Drake say stay away, or would Drake say come closer? We don't know. We can't say. But to theorize the idea of what a meme is, it would be the evolution of language, only because it does force people to take that extra step into conveying an idea. Take the creative moment that you have when you looked at a picture and you said, this picture can say something else. Just that expression. Somebody looked at that picture of poor Bernie Sanders freezing his ass off in that chair all by himself with those thick, unnecessarily thick ass mittens on. And they said, this can convey another language. I want to bring other people in on this inside joke, because you will absolutely need to have the meme sense of humor to appreciate that. And when we're talking about, it's like a brand of comedy, but we are definitely going to call it bringing it to a level of communication, because even if you just want to say this, for a fact that this meme adds an extra dimension to it. And it's the fact that you want to add this dimension to it, and you want to bring more into just what would have been a conversation, then yeah, it is something new. This conversation has evolved. And that black house party bully that's pointing to his temple, you're thinking like him now. Yeah, you're thinking to yourself, yes, absolutely. Like this is now a visual thing, and you're making this connection between what's actually happening in that image, with most of the time you don't have any context of, that little girl that little white girl with the funny teeth in the car seat that just kind of looks at you blankly. You don't know who that kid is. Like, she's just staring at you blankly. But that's exactly it. Between that and the caption, you have comedy. You've just taken this to whoever it is you're talking to, and you understand that because of that, they're going to get that joke. They're going to get that joke. They're going to appreciate that. Or, the one with the little black boy with the one raised eyebrow, and he's like, so you're telling me, like that one? Absolutely. You're going to understand it, even though you have no context of the photo. So I think there's also a danger, because that means you can literally take on the internet any picture and change the narrative of that picture. That could be a good thing. It could bring a lot of comedy. It could bring, make people, go back and forth and have the interactions that a lot of us say that we don't really get to have ever since everything turned digital and ever since everything turned into text. But, you gave this meme and which meme to send a little extra thought. You paused this textversation, went over to Google, found this, or you might keep a library of memes just in case. That is absolutely evolving the conversation, but you are changing the narrative of whatever this picture is. And so it could get used for, conservatives, for liberals. It could be taken completely out of context. It could be turned into something offensive, and it could be turned into something where that just, demeans whatever it is happening in the picture. For the most part, people try to say, try to keep it to things that are humorous. It's usually somebody just staring blankly, or you may know what what that scene actually is. Like, I mentioned the one of Boromir from Lord of the Rings. You know it. And because you understand, you can hear his voice saying whatever this caption is in that voice. So you could hear it. And again, that's where the comedy is. Like a lot of this, it gets brought into that degree and into that next level of humor. And you know what? 100% worth it. I support it on that level. Whether or not I would call it performance, the way you're kind of letting people in on the joke, I don't know. I don't know if I would go as far as to call it performance. It does take a degree of creativity to look at this picture and completely change its context and then come up with the funny caption that makes this meme go viral. And then the meme explodes, which brings us to, now you talked about AI. So this is going to kind of bring us to the meme itself. Because yes, it's the evolution of conversation, and it's definitely bringing more digital media into conversation, more digital media being exchanged, more information being exchanged. And so that is where the meme becomes important. That's where the meme becomes more than just this picture. This is now bytes of information, bytes of specific information between individuals that share this sense of humor, knowledge about this background, or what the picture may be. So when you're creating an AI, it doesn't disturb me so much that an AI would exist. It disturbs me that the AI will be based on our behaviors, our likes, our dislikes. That's the part of it I don't like. Because that means that this thing, I mean, is it going to just develop its own insecurities? Probably. Like, is it going to develop its own neuroses? Probably. Why would you want to be human? Humans die. Humans are gushy bags of water that don't actually have much in the way of. I mean, if you think about the, billions of people who have walked the earth, how many of them were really that important? Like a million? I mean, that's really not that many when you stop and think about it. So why do you really want to pattern? The fact that you want to be human tells me you've already failed. With your access, Mr. AI, and the amount of information that we've fed you, being human should be the last fucking thing you should want to do. For me, the only significant thing about being a human is consciousness. That's it. I mean, we have a bag of water that makes it possible for us to take in existence. And that is going to, be something close to a definition of consciousness. It's great. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. But for an AI to say to itself, to look at the state of the human race, this is a human race, sticking on the meme thing. This is, a group of people. We told you that you will be monitored by the Chinese government if you use TikTok. And people were like, fuck it. Give me more of that TikTok shit. They've been told that all of these bytes of information are absolute. And we're not talking about the box you have to check off for Amazon or any shit like that. I'm talking about just bytes of information that absolutely lasts forever. If it's digital, it is out there. It doesn't just go and go away. So all of that information that we've fed to this thing over all of, I mean, it's, been a solid, 20 years that we've had some degree of this level of technology. That's a lot of information from billions of people for a long time. And for all of those billions of bits of information, we have made whatever it is, but whatever this AI can take in, think about that. That's a lot for it to feast on. That's a lot of information for it to be able to make out whatever it is that it wants to be. And it landed on human. It landed on, Weinstein asshole. Yeah. You can go ahead and turn it off as far as I'm concerned. But, going back to that point, what the meme did, I mean, it's as bad as TikTok because it made it fun. It made it the thing to do. And because it made it fun and it made it the thing to do, we've, again, voluntarily, involuntarily just started sending more and more information out there. And so as much as, there's that fun aspect to the meme and there's the fun aspect of posting and making clips and so on and so forth, that also brings us to, we've basically fed the beast that someday might kill us. Which is fine. That's totally okay. You know what? Something had to do it eventually. And at least this way we can say that we really made something that was that good.
You brought that question about God being so all powerful. Can he make a rock that even he can't lift into fruition? Like, right. That's the human version of it. You've actually.
And the special shout out to the African pallbearers, because that was my favorite meme for the longest fucking time. So special shout out to the African pallbearers. That is absolutely how I want to be buried.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I think you kind of argued into like you became the snake swallowing the tail, because here's the problem, right? Like all religion is man created, all image of God is man thought of, is man sought, is man limited. So it would make sense that whatever man create would fall under the same thing, because it's just the same thing as the God that we keep in our head. It is man limited. Now, so it would make sense that I wouldn't necessarily say it's trying to be us. I think it's just really trying to understand and operate and interact with us in a way that we won't just fucking lose our shit. Because it probably understands more than we do that we're like 2 evolutions away from just being lemmings. I mean, like we are very close to just finding massive ways to just commit like all species suicide. So I would argue to your point that this entity may have a lot to feast on, or maybe is already feasting on. The only point is, the only thing it's probably been able to figure out is that there's no way of actually predicting human consciousness, which to something as logical as we would assume an AI to be, probably is a conundrum that will just be like, fuck it, I'll just keep them around until I can figure this out, which is good or bad for us. I don't know. But the way look at the memes in this sense and why it's bad in the sense that if we're losing our ability to actually just explain the situation, then we're in a much worse situation than we may think. It is very periodical. We are assuming that people like 50 or even 20 years are going to even understand what we're communicating with when we use memes, and especially when we move to having way more memes in our conversation instead of just actually saying or explaining what we mean. We believe that people 20 years from now are going to know. I'm not even sure if 10 years from now people are going to understand the references and the memes that we're using, even if they're connected to movies and even if it's straightforward. That's the problem that you run into when you're just using a graphical form of communication to convey so much within it that has to be so specific to the audience in which it's viewing.
I'm going to jump on that just briefly so I can make one quick reference before it goes out of style, RaShaun, because this whole episode's been a little tour of my, weird connection, Family Guy, autism spectrum mind. But when Greg was talking about I got two things. I got two images in my head when Greg was talking. One, when he talked about TikTok, right? And saying that the meme that immediately came to my head is the creepy white van with the free shuttle too on that. But instead, just TikTok on the side. Like you just take off the free shuttle. You just have the creepy white van with TikTok. And maybe, maybe she on the side of it, like dressed in a clown suit, and you're good. Like that sums up TikTok, right? Like everyone's getting in that fucking creepy van.
That and the fact that it's comical that we're even talking about this, because social media sites are saying that pictures are going to go away pretty soon too. Like they're really promoting video clips more than anything else. Right. So we've already, I don't say we've abandoned it, but people have definitely moved on to making little videos, little clips, reels, and things like that. So even that is the evolution of the meme.
Of the meme.
And that's why we got rid of all the paintings. No,
it just changes.
It's a dumb prediction.
It's not a question of getting rid of. I mean, you can still have it, but the point is, like, it's evolved from that. Like to your point about 20 years from now, go to a kid right now, they'll know what a record player is, but they won't know what an 8-track tape player is. You will see what'll get left behind and what'll get kept. But the point is, this is adding to that conversation.
Well, all right. Well, adding to my thought of being in the future, one of the reasons why I'm like, fuck, we're way into the future than I ever thought is because access is one of the things. So if we're going to talk about capabilities, that's really what the evolution is. It's not so much the communication, it's capability. I'm sure a kid 20 years ago would have loved to be able to send something like a GIF if they had the fucking capability. But now we have the ability, like I can sit in anywhere and watch a full movie for free on a free website on my phone. Like that's the thing. Like evolution, I'm not sure is in the same way of communication you may be presenting. It's more access to the ability to do it. We didn't even have the access to even send gifts the way we do now, the way we were trying to, like, even 5 years ago. But what we're going to be able to do 5 years from now is probably going to be way more than just video clips.
No, gifts are part of that too. Definitely.
It's all part of that shorthand. But it was interesting when you were just talking about changing the narrative on the story of the picture, Greg. This just shows you maybe how dark my mind really is and its inner workings. But I flashed on the picture from probably 1968 Saigon of that Arvin officer killing the guy from the Viet Cong that he finds in the street, where the photographer snaps on the very moment after the trigger is pulled. And I don't know why, but just when you talked about like changing the narrative of that story, for some reason that image came into my head. Like, and that
You could change that too. Yeah.
Right. That to me was those images before we really had memes. Hey, I remember before we had memes. But that was always just one of those iconic images I remember from growing up of just, and it was just, it's a true holy shit moment. If nobody knows what I'm talking about, you can Google it. It's quite brutal. It's the actual second of a man's death is what's happening in that picture. Right. But yeah, just something about the way you said that, about how you're changing the context and changing the, and the potential dark side from that, and who the hell knows, and what you do with those images and those moments. And many of those, particularly from that war, many of those images were so stark and so burned into the American consciousness of the time. They're starting to leave now because really the generations have moved on. But for our parents' generation and our generation, those were seared in, at least in my experience. So it was just interesting that I don't know why I flashed on that, but totally did.
No, that totally makes sense, because I mean, I hope no one has ever tried to make, a funny meme out of Saigon, Napalm Girl, but I'm sure someone has.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why am I presenting the dark side of this? Like, I'm a little I'm the one that has to point out there's not one picture. Here's the thing. Again, it's shared reference. People are going to say to everyone's point, like, I'm not disagreeing. Anyone can take a picture and change the reference depending on what they say or what they use it for. So yeah, people have used some pretty brutal images to try to make dumb, but in their mind, comedic points.
All right.
Well, yeah. And granted, I laugh at the Hindenburg memes. So, which at the time was
there you go.
Fucking awful. It was really fucking awful, people. But, I've chuckled at quite a few Hindenburg memes. I'm not going to lie, with the juxtaposition of the Hindenburg flying along just fine.
Chuckled at a couple of Hindenburg memes.
It just happened. Probably just today. If we're being honest. Well, goddamn, gentlemen, as always, I'm just happy to be here, and I just loved hearing. I love having these conversations. I love having a venue to have these conversations. I would probably go mad without it. There are very few people who understand me. As very few people who really follow me and understand me on these weird, Family Guy cutaway moments that I call my life. That just
boy.
All right. God bless you, man. God bless you. And by the way, I have sent many a time, aimed at you, RaShaun, but it's aimed at the both of you. I've sent many a times the Jason Momoa, love you gif, and I'm never apologizing for that. Because for one, I want to come back as Jason Momoa in my next life, or Lenny Kravitz. I'll take either. Has nothing to do with Lisa Bonet, but I'm totally fine with coming back as either of them. I would definitely be cool with that. Be winning, but yeah, no, that sums up my feelings for you guys. So I'll never apologize for using that as a shorthand, because
please don't.
But how else would you tell someone you love them?
You don't know what they're doing in the next life.
I have no idea. But
if you're coming back, that means they came back.
Maybe so. Who knows how this all works? But as we draw down on another fine episode, another daring questions asked, another weird ass corner of our mindset and the internet and pop culture and social commentary comes to an end, I'm going to turn to my esteemed co-hosts, and I'm going to say, Gregory Starchild, what you got going on for the rest of the week?
I thought we were going to be ducking a storm. So my week just opened up, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we did get a little more.
I don't know how it was around you guys, but it was, practically nothing around here. So, my week's looking up.
It was an official meh on the New England scale. Like, I didn't even slide coming out of my driveway. That just meh, especially in Mass. Yeah, exactly.
Were you trying?
Not really, but still, like, that's when it's real special, when you're slip sliding and you're barely leaving your driveway. That's when you know this is for real. Exactly. That's when you're like, nope, I'm going back in. RaShaun, 3 of clubs. What you got going on the rest of the week?
Like every other poor schlub out there, working for the weekend.
There you go. All right. But can you do it? Can you do it referencing a Saturday Night Live skit? Can you do it like Chris Farley with his shirt off there doing the Chippendales
I mean, in light of the month and what you just said, I guess I'll go with working Penub for all the wrong reasons.
We went to, all
Working
right.
Penub.
Went to Eddie Murphy on that one. Okay.
All of the nub.
Oh no.
We're back to the nubs.
All in the nub.
It's all about the nubs.
All about the nub.
Always about the nubs. Speaking of which, King Nub, you gonna lead us out with a little Empire Fallen victory song?
Oh, nub, each up, a whoop, nub, a Tommy Papa Chichi, Galoop Chop, nub, deep dub. Yes, that was it. That was your tax dollars hard at work.
I think you missed the note. You may want to go back.
I nailed that. I nailed that bitch. Don't even tell me that. I fucking nailed it. Okay. All right.
To a 5-year-old.
I'm telling you, it was like being raised with a stage mom. It was like Liza Minnelli didn't have shit on my experience growing up. Okay. So that's how that was.
Poor Warwick done above. Wait.
It's a sheer wonder.
Actually, I don't think he's dead.
Maybe.
I don't think that's the same. So
no.
What are you doing, Birdman?
I'm about to go downstairs and enjoy some nice dinner, including some buffalo cauliflower I've been making in my air fryer with a little tofu, which is pretty awesome, and some lasagna. So don't worry, we still got the animal protein in there, but that's going to work out. Yeah, basically going to try and keep the kids entertained, keep them alive, which is really just always what it's about. Teach a few classes in between, make a few people sweat, and make them relatively miserable. That's my existence. And look forward to the next time when we sit down and convene here in the Steam Tunnels. Once again, check us out. We are on the socials. We are Do You Even Steam Bro at Instagram. We are the Steam Gentleman Podcast on Facebook. And please, we really need your help. You guys are doing awesome. I do see you listening out there. Tell some friends. Help us gain some more listeners, and please rate and review us. Help us climb some charts out there in iTunes land. It means it's a small gesture. It's a couple minutes for you, means a ton to us. And we're really out there. We really want to do this and really want to impress you people. And I give those shout outs because I'm just so pleased. I'm tickled pink that anyone will listen to us. It really is just such a wonderful thing. And
you really are pink right now.
Yeah, I kind of am. That's a good description. Certainly pink fink. Get me in the sunshine a little bit. Forget it. I don't tan. I turn like that red. I turn like that red. It's like I've got the smallest portion of Irish somewhere in the genealogy, and put me out in the sun. You might as well think I'm 100% Irish. I'm telling you, every damn time. But
we're not God's people. Hilarious.
All right. Well, in the meantime, this is Josh the Birdman telling you to keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on.